Well, let's get you more perspective now on what the office space of the future might look like. John Capano joins us now live via Skype. He's the Senior Vice President of Impact XM. Welcome, John.
Thank you for having me.
So now that firms have a year's worth of data to look back on regarding working from home, how are they deciding whether keeping the same office space is still a good investment?
We're definitely seeing that hybrid trend in the marketplace where our clients are reevaluating the amount of space they have and the usage of that space. And what we're really seeing is this combination of the flex timing with some employees coming in on some days requiring less space, but also working with other companies that allow them to scale up and scale down, or also enable remote workers who may be working from home normally to join a remote office at a WeWork or some type of flexible space like that. So we are seeing that hybrid strategy in the marketplace.
So what are some of the creative ways that you're seeing office space being used now?
Well, in past years, it was all about LEED certification and higher capacity and open space planning and open offices. And that really has shifted to a conversation about ventilation, partition, segmentation. And so we're seeing in some of the more creative industries, different ways that they're partitioning off offices and scheduling employees and the such. And some of the industries that we work in very closely with are more apt to do those type of things. So technology companies and companies that they can produce their products and services remotely, and they don't need to spend the time together the way manufacturing or some of the services industries do.
So as these companies figure out whether it's still worth it, what do you think might make or break the decision for employers to decide to keep renting office space or retail space?
I think retail space will come back as the economy comes back. We're less concerned there. On the commercial side, when a company has hundreds of thousands of square feet of office space where their employees were coming in every day, we really think that there is a financial decision that will go into that. Is there a more flexible strategy in the marketplace than owning all of that real estate or renting all of that real estate on long-term lease situation? So what you were commenting on earlier, we're definitely seeing in the marketplace where people are trying to maintain more short-term flexibility and react to the market.
So then what are the consequences for commercial properties and the industry itself if more companies do decide to downsize or if workers don't return full force?
Well, we definitely think that will impact the market and certainly in the commercial real estate. But we have also seen a resilience there where people are able to reinvent spaces, take spaces and reuse them for other things. And we're seeing that in everything from the retail and restaurant industry into the corporate space as well, whether they convert that to temporary offices or other type of facilities that would be in use after COVID subsides.
So then what sort of economic domino effects can come with having less demand for commercial real estate?
Well, certainly the commercial real estate industry in the U.S. and in major metropolitan areas is huge and has a huge impact on the industry. So if things still do continue to get soft in that area and there isn't a bit of a reinvention, it certainly could bode poorly for economic areas.
And obviously a lot of companies had to pivot. So how did the industry respond, say, at the very beginning of the pandemic versus now that we're a year in?
Well, I certainly think at the beginning of the response, everyone was waiting to see what would happen. Everyone was kind of hunkering down. But now, as you continue to go through and time passes, more and more commercial leases come up. And there's a decision point at which someone has to make that decision to say, we are going to renew or we are going to move to a more flexible model. And I think we're right at that point. We're about a year in. So certainly from a perspective of how much of that lease space has come up, we're still at the low end. I think over the next year or two, you'll see more and more of that. And these companies that do hold large portfolios or in fact commercial real estate entities themselves will have to be very flexible and innovative in the marketplace to repurpose that space.
And flexibility certainly seems to be that key word there. So for some of these commercial real estate companies who are navigating this pandemic well, who are they and what are they doing to stay afloat?
So it's interesting. I'm not that involved in the commercial real estate side. I'm more involved on the client side. But we did see a very interesting movement just before COVID kind of hit, where a lot of our companies were coming back to centralized office space. So a lot of our clients were on a distributed model, remote workers, open office plans. And in the last 2 to 3 years, we had seen really an influx of people feeling like they needed to be all back in one place to create that culture and foster that culture. And really, that trend was just picking up as COVID hit. And so it really kind of cut it off at the knees. It will be interesting to see if that momentum returns after COVID and we see that return back to that centralized office space or that model, or COVID is really the more powerful driver, or things like COVID are the more powerful driver, and that dips again.